Camera number 1, right. We need to be a bit sparing with camera number 2. Let's just see where it's pointing at. I don't know, maybe somewhere around there. Because camera number 2 only has a limited amount of disk space left. Pixels. I like the old days in the recording studio when you saw the tape going round, you had a counter there, you know, like an odometer in a car. It's going over the 100,000 miles or whatever, you know. I used to have I'm going off at tangents here, but I used to have a 8-track digital in the spare room, which was my children's room. And the fingers are dead at the moment, so we're going to have to malleate those. And then here I had a 4-track plugged into all this stuff here and came out through the 4 speakers there. And this was facing that way, so I'm singing into the speakers that way. And I'd be making the demos down here, and when I got the arrangement down, I would go upstairs and I'd say do it properly, but I always like the original demos. And you'd be watching the counter on some of the songs, like, you know, because some of my songs are very long, as some of you may know. Not as long as this introduction. But either way, case in point, I'm just going to try and do Where the Hard Wind Blows. And I'd be there and I'd have the lyrics on the lecterns, like I always record a song as soon as I've written it. And I'd be playing away, you know, and I'd think, oh, this is going on a bit, and I'd be peeking down, trying to read the lyrics, and it's getting near 475, you know, because the tape goes at double speed, you know, for the same quality. Cutting harmonica solos short. Is it Please Come to Me? On the Memory of the Moment. Goodness me, I'm going into an anecdote memory mood here. Because I never recut it again, so on one, it must be on, there's one track on the Crystal Heart CD. It's either Please Come to Me or The Memory of the Moment. I think it's The Memory of the Moment. Jeez, I haven't played that in nearly 40 years. The memory of the moment gets more distant by the hour. I'll stay here in the danger zone. You go back to your ivory towers. How much did I love you? Can't remember where it goes after that. The memory of the moment. Anyway. And it just ends. I go into the harmonica solo and then it just goes... Okay, right. Okay, what am I going to do here? So I want to try and do the full version of Where the Hard Wind Blows. I cut one late last night. I don't know what time, but it was very dark and occlusional. Not trying. The tunings are going to be slightly not where you would expect them to be for a song in this. Well, I'm going to try it, and I got some. I do apologise. Rude of me, wasn't it? It's very strange doing this, you know. For those on the internet who wonder why I do this chatty and all this stuff and everything, it's because these days my disease has spread so far, my disability, that I'm just really doing this for endorphins for myself and to leave tapes behind for my beautiful children when they grow up, and hopefully they will see them. I've got no other way of, I've got no other way of them ever seeing or hearing this except via, hopefully they will find one day down the line they might do an internet search and there's Daddy there, you know. Fight into the end and sing into the end. And I'll do it with a plectrum. I did it finger picking last night. You know what, I'm going to finger pick it again. I'm going to put some glasses on. Because I don't look good. Dylan and Emily? Wind the tape back and then fast forward a bit on from here. Don't look at Daddy's eyes. Okay. So we're going back to 1987 now. That seems a very long time ago. 1987, you know. My children are 9 and 11, actually 10. Emily, you were 10. In case you wondering when this is too, Emily, you were 10 years old 9 days ago. So I'll give you an idea of the date. Okay, fingers, you up for it? Oh, a bit sniffy there. 1, 2, 3, 4. along the highway to keep the profits in. The poets working overtime say now is the time to begin the burial of an unknown man who might have been someone's twin. And the movie queen says, I have been where lovers cannot go. All that is black, and no one comes back from where the hard wind blows. Oh, the servants sit in conference while the ministers go forth and steal. And the octopus tales of old while working the spinning wheel. And the lawyers and the congressmen debate what can be classed as real. And a new day breaks with new heartaches and suits of blue that glow. And the evil toad has built a road to where the hard wind blows. In a council of the vagabonds, the last man in is voted first. He gets ahead of his position and leaves his mother dying of thirst. He says, I've got plenty of deceptions in reserve. Go ahead, do your worst. And the samurai won't let you die, and he won't let you go. And the night comes down, so take your crown to where the hard wind blows. When the road on which you travel turns into a slot machine, you know you must change your transport and keep your conscience clean. The ferryman may say if to you, but he doesn't really know what it means. And all he can do is poison you and put you in a show. The tower is high, but time still goes by when the hard wind blows. There's a tunnel with no entrance that leads to a hermit's cave, where half the people were victimized, the other half were enslaved. And the queen of clubs come washed into my shore on the crest of a regal wave. The truth is lies, and you despise the need that makes it so. The possum wears silk and the dead drink milk where the hard wind blows. In a picture frame of water, a rainbow has been kept in honor of a bedroom where someone famous once slept. And the princess wears a locket contains all the tears she's ever wept. The pacifist, he makes a fist, but he's 10 years too slow. And the people say we will leave someday from where the hard wind blows. There's a flag in every corner that tells you where you are, and a signpost on the ceiling that points to near and far. And the doctor says, oh, you look so ill, and he gives you a brand new scar. And you walk alone through fields of stone where streams of daggers flow. And thanks aren't enough when the going gets rough where the hard wind blows. The sage is selling his memories, but no one wants to hear. The fighter puts his gloves away and says, same time next year. And the princess opens her locket up and files away her baby's tear. As the hammer drops, she calls shortcuts, but they get there far too slow. And the first man smiles, time is drawn in miles, where the hard wind blows. There's a judge inside a bottle, sends his verdicts out. He says poverty is an illness that there's so much of it about. So don't believe in anything, it's better to live in doubt. And the witness cooks the history books, so the next generation won't know. It is for the best to resist arrest where the hard wind blows. While the pawn takes to the back streets, the night goes on in style. He leaves a messenger tied to the gate saying, come back in a while. But the diplomats got their lines in first. The game is now on file. Dame Fortune has called, but you have stalled, so backwards you must go. One day peace will come to not all, but some, where the hard wind blows. There's a ship out on an ocean that won't come back again. The helmsman is a hunchback, and the captain's dressed in chains. There's an albatross following them around, saying next time, abstain. And you can't submit when being hit by demons from below, but you won't get hurt if you stay alert where the hard wind blows. While the Aztecs sit in silence, the tourists carry on. They won't leave the stepping stones they've staked a claim upon. They take pictures of the pyramids until all their mystique has gone. Standing on one foot, the archer puts a fresh arrow to the bow. And as he takes aim, they begin a new game where the hard wind blows. The hostess has laid the table in case she has a guest. Her mother told her long ago to be prepared is best. And the uncle says, listen when mother speaks, come to my room and take the test. And the people seek someone to speak a language they all know. There are no rungs on the road that runs to where the hard wind blows. As a poet calls the numbers, the piper starts to play. The king and queen dance cheek to cheek, and the pawn whispers, oh, by the way, my friends from Capitol Hill are here, and this time they're gonna stay. And the porcupine says, I feel fine, don't tell me it isn't so. And no one believes that no one leaves where the hard wind blows. As a teacher takes his pupils to the end of season as the hat check girl gives him a smile and says, you're taking a chance. He says, I got my lesson down, don't look at me so askance. And the fireman does what he he can to try and save the show. But it turns to dust as everything must, where the hard wind blows. As a foretaste of the future, the axeman sharpens his blade. He used to be a surgeon, but he didn't quite make the grade. So the hospital is empty now, and the nursery beds sit in the shade. The Queen distributes her substitutes and places them in rows, while they're pulling down yet another town where the hard wind blows. Well, the hard wind blows. Yeah, that's an allegorical song. I don't really like to talk about my songs like this. I'm making videos for my children, and I don't think camera too. You picked up any of that, did you? I forgot to do that with the microphones. Human origami, you know. Reverend Paranoia. You want to hear Reverend Paranoia? I might do that one in a minute. If you watched last night's video, you'll know that I've been interrupted all the way through by helicopters, and I said at the time, well, considering what's brought this song to the fore now, that's going to leave a bruise. And the helicopters came across one point there, and you go. In case you wonder what's happening, no, not you guys. I've got robins, chaffinches, grey tits, blue tits, blackbird just come back down, lady blackbirds, a wren, 3 squirrels. There's a storm going on at the moment, and the storm has just abated, and I've thrown them down some nuts and everything. Why do you stop doing that? Oh, it's the camera. Okay, we lost the other camera there, so bye-bye camera too. And this huge crow came down then to take it all away. Now isn't that strange? That's kind of what the song is about, really, you know, Anyway, I was thinking last night about it, and I thought I'm going to sing this while the helicopters are there. It's kind of apposite for what's going on. And when I came across that, I was thinking, yeah, I'm singing about you. And various things. The other thing I should say about that song, Dylan, nice, I'm talking to you. Let's see, that's from 1987. That's one of Daddy's more allegorical numbers. So you know, Emily, when I talk about your song, is it on that? No. Where's the harm? No. Where's the sun go to at night? You know. So, I mean, obviously I don't see any of my old musician friends anymore. Rest in peace, Taff. No. Well, I used to hear, why don't you write like that anymore? And I still do write like that. I mean, if you look at what did I write, the last song I wrote was any cue card for it? Sweet Cutie Blue, it's not Embers. Well, Embers is a new song. Exit Wounds is a new song. Those are kind of allegorical. Exit Wounds, for instance, which I've done about 7 or 8 takes, is allegorical even in the title, because exit wounds. if you have an injury, either of the heart or the soul, leaves an exit wound, yeah? And having been in the army, I can tell you an exit wound is bigger than the entry point, you know? But also, Daddy's not very well, and exit wounds, you know, one's exit wounds. I don't really want to talk about how I landed the children, but I can see in the viewfinder, and you can see I've got no flesh left on my body at all. 9 years of this disease. Anyway, so I will just explain to my children that, well, there's a line in there. The octopus tells tales of old while working the spinning wheel. Just pick up a newspaper any time, Dylan. I mean, I wrote this in 1987, and here we are now, and I'm reading this now against the backdrop of what's going on in the world, not specific place, but places. So this is going on in that street there, and it's going on in that nation there. You know. The octopus tales of old while working the spinning wheel. I mean, you're going back to 1987 there, and that's about dictators. The image that came from that, I can never remember where I got the central image from that birthed that line. It was either a Jim Steranko comic of Hydra, cut off one head and other takes place, and I think there's a picture of its tentacles going around a picture of the globe. Or it may have been from Ray Harryhausen, I don't know, but the central metaphor there, I took it back down to dictatorships and how they spread their evil out, you know, trying to pull, you know, the world in and telling tales of old while working the spinning wheel. It's because all through history, people have tended to justify wars by rewriting history. And that's going on today, you know. There's a war going on in Europe this very instant, where someone is going, historically this country was ours. Well, historically, mate, you know, everything was Pangea, so, you know, let's go back to that, shall we, you know. Historically, human life began in Africa, so I guess you could say from that, you know, Africa owns the entire world. So I took out some of the allegorical bits there. Princess finding a locket, falls away another tear. That was an allusion to a line in another one of my songs is 1,000 tears for every unborn child. So that's where that came from. Shall I go on talking about it? No. And well, the last line where they're pulling down yet another town where the hard wind blows, and then that comes back down through. I mean, they're dropping bombs on towns, you know, a new town every day. But also when I wrote this song, we were in the height of a lady called Mrs. Thatcher, and there was nothing, you know, what we had before, where Daddy still lives and where you used to live when you were with Daddy. It was just decimated, it just went, you know. I remember 91, I went to London to see the Bob Dylan concert at Hammersmith Odeon in 1991. And man, they were some terrible shows. Oh boy, they were awful. Goodness me, they were absolutely terrible. I know he had a lot of things going on in his life and he wasn't well. But really, you know, he was so bad I wanted to ask the money back for people who didn't even go to the show. Just in case I caught some of it as they were walking past going down Hammersmith Broadway, you know. But in the early 80s, Daddy was homeless up there, and that was my patch, really, Hammersmith, Shepherd's Bush, and around that area. And so I went back in 1991, and I thought, I'm going to go hobo again. And this was one of the spells when Daddy was trying to be a bit more respectable, you know, and again, a mistake. that were the worst times in my life, apart from when you guys were born, when I stopped making music. Whenever I put a guitar down and tried to pick respectability up, it all went to hell. And that's what's led to, to me dying 25 years earlier than I should have done. But hey, so 2 things to take from Daddy here. 1, never be afraid to walk away. Remember Robin? Never be afraid to walk away. If it looks like a bad deal, walk away. You can always look at it through a telescope and come back to it, if necessary. If the opportunity's gone, someone tells you you'll never get that chance again, that's okay. Another one will turn up. That was the biggest mistake I ever made. And it turned out to be a fatal one. Anyway, so I went up in the car, and I thought I'm just going to go home. This was February, by the way. Okay, February 1991. February then is not like February now, where you can sit in the garden in a deck chair and you've got to put suntan lotion on, okay, and polar bears are floating by on the last remaining block of ice, February then, and it was so snowy. I mean, I remember driving through in the snow, and I got there and I parked under the flyover at Hammersmith, which is just opposite the Hammersmith Odeon, and it's gone now. The last time I went back, it was a flower bed or something or another, and parked in a parking spot. And here's a little hack for you that is no longer applicable. Okay, but in those days, if the parking meter was broken, then you didn't have to pay. It was free parking, it was a free bay. So I did what I'd always done there. So I found a nice parking spot, chomped some chewing gum, stuck it in the slot of the parking, blocked it up. Parking meter's not working. Okay, what am I supposed to do, Gav? I can't get my coin in there. I had a Volkswagen Scirocco sports car at the time, which was, it was about that high off the ground, and I was going to sleep in the back of it, as I go back to my, I don't know what I was planning on doing. I just wanted to get back in touch. Maybe it was a midlife crisis. What would I have been in 91? I'd have been 29 in February 1991. And, but it was so cold. It was freezing. It was -8. And I was in the in the Scirocco, and I still had a blanket in there, but I was after a while, I'd run the engine, But you couldn't, after a while you had to turn the engine off, because if I'd driven away to go get petrol, someone else would have snaffled my parking spot, because it was filled with all the cars from the concert attendees at that point, and people coming home from work, and we're parking there. I think it was a television company there, I believe. Yeah, or maybe it was EMI you could see from the car park. I thought, well, I used to live here, so I like Scott of the Antarctic, I decided to break camp, Well, that's not what Scott did, but, and I thought, well, I know where I'm to here, all the homeless shelters, all the way down there. So I just got out of the car, try to, I always looked like a hobo in any case, never mind how much money I had in my wallet or if I had a sports car or anything, because when did Daddy ever comb his hair? Actually, I just combed my hair this morning for the first time in a month, So how Daddy does it. That's hair comb, off we go. The point of the story is I walked for, well, you won't say I walked for miles. I walked 1,000,000 miles and I was beguiled. But all the homeless shelters, when I lived there in the early 80s, there were hostels, homeless shelters, all run by charities. But with Mrs. Thatcher's era coming along and these swinging cuts, everything had shut down. There was nothing. They'd all been shut down because their funding had stopped. I believe she even cut the funding with Citizens Advice Bureaus. So it wasn't just hospitals and everything that she's known for cutting, and milk to babies or children, etc. But there was nothing. In the end, as I was making my way back to the car, because it was so cold, they had opened up the church there, and so I wandered in there, and I was just like blue. And of course they were like, there's that scene in Columbo, where where he walks into the one with Dick Van Dyke, Double Negative, or something like that. and he goes into a Salvation Army hostel or something, the homeless, and everyone thinks he's one of the homeless because he's in the thing. So I was kind of like that, you know. I went in and I just, oh, you poor man, you know. And they'd imported these little mattresses and everything on it. But and there was this, I remember they had this huge cauldron of tea there. If you think I drink a lot of tea now, I just sat there pumping sugar and glugging away and everything else. And I'll just see the night out here, it's only a few more hours. And then I'll head to the Hammersmith Broadway and go into one of the burger joints there, you know, and do what I used to do, sit there, make a cup of tea, last for 2 hours and write songs. And they had a delivery from a certain well-known establishment, retail establishment that is still going, begins with an M, and they delivered all these sandwiches and everything that were out of date, and they brought them in, and they said, would you like something to eat? Yeah, I actually would, you know, because I forgot to eat anything, you know. Been to this concert, which is just terrible. I mean, it's just Bob. He opened with New Morning. What key's New Morning in? I think it's A. And New morning, a new morning, a new morning with you. And then he went to Lay, Lay, Lay. Lay, Lay, Lay. How's Lay, Lay, Lay going? It's an A, isn't it? Lay, 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 Lay was my big fat bed. Whatever colours you have, in your mind, I show them to you, and you'll see them shine. Bad impression of a very drunken Bob Dylan there. He had a lot of bad stuff going on in his life, but you know, we paid 20 quid a ticket for this, you know. And I was like watching some guy at a bus stop, you know, singing into a tin of beans. Bless him, and bless them as well. So they brought these sandwiches in, and I was going through and I was plowing through this thing, just not thinking, you know. And this lady came up to me and she said, can I help you, young man? Oh, we call young man. And I said, yeah, I'm just looking for something I can eat. And she said, is there anything wrong with these? And so, you know, without pause for thought, I said, well, I'm a vegetarian, you know, so I'm putting all that, you know, the ham and tomato and the tuna and sweet corn aside and everything, you know, just looking for a cheese and tomato sandwich. This woman's face, you know, she just went, you know, she must have been thinking, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I've been dragged out, you know, full of goodwill, and I've set this place up here, you know, so, and gone round the streets and let all the homeless people in the doorways know that we are open. Provided heating and blankets and mattresses and food for them, and this guy's going, how picky is he, like, you know? Anyway, so it amused me, like, you know. I mean, if that sounds a bit strange, I should point out that I did play, you know, I mean, how many charity concerts have I played in my life, you know? 1,000, 10,000, you know. I've raised enough funds over the decades, and when you look at it now, I've got no help or care. Anyway, I've gone wide-ranging here, haven't I? I'm so sorry, guys, I just started yakking. Okay. What shall I do now? Maybe sing a song. Maybe two. That loves you all with heart and soul.